My daughter's 23 years old. I bought her a car for graduation, but she turned into an absolute entitled brat, and I'm going to take her car away from her. Well, when I took her car away, I did not expect her to blow up the way she did, and well, she did this.
You can call me John. I know the title seems self-explanatory, but there's a lot of background information to share and a lot of drama I've been dealing with lately. This is going to be a long post. To give some background info, decades ago, I met the love of my life and had a beautiful daughter with her named Emily. My wife passed away unexpectedly, and I was left to raise Emily all alone. With little to no help from any family members, mind you. All Emily's life, I've worked 2 jobs and made sacrifice after sacrifice for my daughter, and I've never expected anything in return. It has not been easy. Being a parent is never easy, but raising a child alone is extra difficult. And Emily has always been a bit of a handful. I've always given her everything she needed or could ever have wanted. And frankly, I've spoiled her a bit over the years because I feel guilty for Emily having to go through life without a mother. Emily graduated from college a little while back. I got her a brand new car, the exact one that she's been begging me for. When I bought the car, I made a deal with Emily, and I was extremely clear about the terms and conditions for getting this vehicle from me. I told Emily she would have to work a job, contribute rent and car payments, and help with household chores. These are things that she's never done before, so I figured after graduating college was a good time for her to learn some things about being an adult. I could tell she was not happy about any of this, but I told her she would thank me later for teaching her how to fend for herself. So, I told her once she had paid me her half of the car, I would switch the car over to her name. I was only planning on owning this car temporarily while Emily saved up money and learned some responsibility skills. I figured she would suffer through being an adult like the rest of us, but I guess she did not take me serious enough. I was lenient at first, perhaps I was even a bit too lenient. Weeks and weeks went by, and every day I'd come home from work and find Emily sitting on the couch, eating all the snacks in the home and making a mess. Sometimes she would be with her boyfriend Bobby, who I'd already told her I did not want around the house, but she simply did not listen. It got where Emily was not leaving the house for anything except to go visit Bobby, leaving me to do all the chores and errands. Well, I was fine with that when she was a child, but she's 23 years old and I was getting sick of this. Every day I'd ask Emily if she'd found a job. Then I started asking if she had any interviews lately. Then I started asking if she's even applied for any jobs lately, and she would always find some way to brush me off. It was disrespectful, especially considering all that I've done for her. I don't expect any payments for what I did for Emily when she was a child, and I don't expect a penny back for paying for her college, but she's 23 and still is expecting me to pay for her cell phone, her car, her streaming services, even her video games, everything. Things simply could not continue as they were, and eventually this situation reached a boiling point. I had a knockdown, drag-out, screaming match with Emily, but after a lot of pointless arguing and huffing and puffing, she finally had to accept she did not have a leg to stand on in this debate. I explained in no uncertain terms that I was taking away her car, her cell phone, and every luxury you can think of. I told her she was to find a job immediately. I told her I didn't care if she was sweeping the side of the road for a nickel an hour. She was getting a job and paying me for the car. I told her once she proved herself responsible for a few months, I would give her her stuff back. She sobbed through it all, but she finally agreed with me. At first, things were better. Emily found a job at Burger King just a few days after we had our big argument, and she was pitching in to help me out. She was not paying nearly her share of the rent or car payments, but I was pleased to finally be getting some contribution from Emily, no matter how little. She also stopped bringing Bobby over. I know I can't control who she dates, right? But I at least have to control who's over at my own house, right? Well, for a while, I simply dropped the issue and quit riding Emily so hard about it. After all, baby steps were important. I continued to be lenient with Emily as long as she was giving me something in rent. I continued to pressure her to actually do something with her degree and find a career, but I tried to be delicate about it because I know it's a lot to ask for a young person to plan out their entire life. Still, I just wanted to see some effort on Emily's part beyond working at Burger King. This arrangement continued as it was for a while, until what happened recently. You see, this incident is why I'm typing this post today for you. Basically, every year I throw a family get-together in memory of my late wife. I invite both sides of the family since everyone on my side of the family likes my wife as well. It's always bittersweet, but it's something I feel like I have to do to keep her memory alive. Most years, it's a surprisingly fun event, and I like to think it helps us feel a bit closer to my late wife. But this year was terrible. Right from the start of the memorial party, Emily is going around telling everyone how I took her car away and how she's, quote, not allowed to drive her own vehicle. She was not exactly saying these things behind my back either, because I was never too far away from her. I immediately sensed that Emily was upset about something and trying to throw off the memorial to get back at me, and I'll admit, I wanted to explode on her right away, but I kept my cool and did some breathing and managed to calm down. I was not going to let Emily ruin the memorial out of petulance, but I planned on confronting her about these remarks after the party was over. Well, it turned out that the memorial party ended much sooner than I had anticipated. Right when everyone was sitting down for dinner, by the way, I always make my wife's favorite dishes, Emily banged a spoon on her wine glass and told everyone she had something to share. I tensed up immediately because she was looking right at me. I had a feeling she was about to try and embarrass me somehow, but I could not have predicted this. In front of both sides of our entire family, Emily announced that she had always thought I murdered her mother. That's right, I was so shocked and I could practically feel my jaw hitting the floor. Everyone gasped and remained silent. Emily went on a rant about how mean I am, how mean I was to her mother, all sorts of nonsense. But then came the real bombshell. She spilled my deepest, darkest secret to the family. You see, the day my wife died, we had gotten into an argument. It was over something so minuscule, but we had an argument as couples often do, and I never got physical with her, not once. We exchanged some harsh words that day, and I stormed out of the house for a drive just to clear my mind. When I arrived back home, my wife had died of a heart attack. She was born with a chronic heart condition that I knew was going to shorten her life dramatically. But I did not expect our last words to each other to be as bad as they were. That day was absolutely the worst day of my life, and I carry that guilt with me everywhere. Of course, I never told my wife's side of the family about how we had fought the day she died. I was too afraid that they would blame me for her death, just as I often blame myself for the exact same reasons. Well, Emily shared all of this with everyone, and I could see everyone slowly starting to turn on me. I knew that none of this was actually about my wife. Emily was putting on this show just to gain sympathy, because she was mad at me over a car. I was through with all her crap. I demanded everybody to leave, including Emily, and I told her I did not care where she goes. I just want her to get out of my home. So she packed up some belongings and got Bobby to give her a ride. I've not seen her since or even spoken to her. So, am I the a-hole for how I've reacted? I'm starting to think I never should have taken Emily's car away, but as of now, I'm standing my ground and I'm not going to budge, especially not after the disrespect that she showed me the other night. Guys, give me some advice, please. I need it. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Oh man, today's story is deep. There's also 5 updates to get through, so sit back, go ahead, grab your favorite beverage, kick your feet up in the air, and enjoy because it's about to get juicy. If you're not subscribed to the channel, just know it supports me a lot and I deeply appreciate that. And if you're subscribed, you're never going to miss a daily video. Update number 1. Hey everyone, John here, just for another update. First, I'd like to thank everyone who left kind and supportive comments, as well as the good advice I've received. Most of all, I truly appreciate you all letting me vent like this, and I felt so alone lately, and I wish I could say things are getting better, but they're simply not. Just as I feared in my last post, Emily's words did have an effect. I'd hoped the family would brush off Emily's petulance as just that and accept that this was merely the outburst of a spoiled adult child. But ever since the memorial, I've been getting so many angry phone calls and harassments from members of my wife's family. Unsurprisingly, everyone had a lot of choice words and strongly worded questions to ask me about how my wife died. Even a former cousin-in-law of mine said that he thought I murdered my wife as well. I could not believe the ridiculousness that I was hearing. Now, I know some of you may ask why I care what my deceased wife's family thinks of me, but frankly, they're the only connection I have to my wife other than Emily. And now that my relationship with my daughter is on the rocks, I was counting on them giving me support. But of course, they're siding with Emily. I understand why they're so protective and loving of her, especially since she's my wife's offspring, but I did not expect this much backlash. Well, what can I do? I'm so tired, I just want this to stop. Every single call just makes me think about my wife's death more and more, and I can't take this added guilt on top of everything else that I've been dealing with. Update number 2. Hey guys, I'm back with another update, and things just keep getting crazier. As for the harassment I was dealing with in my last update, I finally had to just turn off my cell phone and forget about it. I realized it was not worth my mental health and sanity to try to convince these people of the truth when emotions are so fresh and high. But there's been another recent development, one that I find a bit funny, yet still concerning. To give some background information here, Emily has always been extremely close to her aunt, Francine. It makes sense because Francine was extremely close to my wife, her sister. My daughter looks a lot like my late wife, and of course Francine has always tried to be a motherly figure for Emily. Of course, they did not always translate very well. I must admit, Francine spoiled Emily even more than I did when she was growing up, and I can't help but feel like she's part of the reason Emily is so entitled today. She always gives Emily her way, no matter what, even going behind my back, and behind my own wishes as a parent. So, things have been slightly rocky with Francine even before this. Who do I get a call from today? Francine. I turned off my cell phone, but somehow she still had my phone number. Francine informed me that since I was being so heartless and cruel towards Emily, she would be allowing Emily to live at her house. She also threw in, "I thought you might actually want to know where your daughter is." I told her I didn't. And she did not have a response to that, and there was some awkwardness, and finally, Francine asked me why I'm, quote, being like this. I just told her that eventually Emily would reveal her true colors. Francine laughed it off and said I was being a dramatic baby, and all I said to that was to have fun taking care of a grown child in your home. She asked me what I meant by that and said Emily was still working at Burger King and had agreed to pay rent. I laughed and told her she would see the truth soon enough. Update number 3. Hey guys, John here again. Thanks again for all of you who are still reading and commenting. It means so much to me. I wish I would not have to keep writing these, but the drama with Emily is still going strong. It seems to be getting worse, I'm afraid. So, it's been a while since I last spoke to Emily, and the last I heard about her was the phone call with Francine I talked about in my last update. Although this stress has not left the back of my mind at all, I've been able to relax here and there. Having my cell phone turned off and having a nice empty house all to myself has not been so bad. Although, the loneliness is getting to me, but it's nice not having to do a bunch of errands and cleaning to pick up Emily's slack. What I'm saying is, until yesterday, I'd been living in relative peace and was actually starting to relax and enjoy myself a bit. But yesterday, something terrible happened. I was hoping Emily would just leave me alone. I wanted her to live her life and me to live my life. We don't have to like each other, but out of respect for me and her mother, I just wanted peace and civility. Turns out, Emily sent Bobby over to my house last night. That's right. I was sitting on the couch watching TV, enjoying myself, because when Emily lived there, she was always on the same couch doing nothing. That's when I heard a loud knock on the door. It was so loud and forceful, and I thought it was the police at first, and then I looked through the peephole and saw Bobby. Of course, I refused to let him in and just made him angrier, and he started shouting, "Then I need to give Emily her car back, or things are going to get a lot worse for me." He starts banging on my window, trying to break it, and that's when I called the police. Bobby stuck around too long and got himself arrested. Today, I wake up and my house phone is ringing off the hinges. Calls from Francine. Francine told me Bobby was only trying to defend Emily because he cares about her, and she said I'm a cruel person for calling the police. So guys, see what I'm having to deal with here. It's not enough that I've lost my daughter and my family's turned their back on me. I have to deal with harassment from Bobby and get called the bad guy for standing up for myself. Update number 4. Hey guys, I'm starting to think I should have gotten a career as a clairvoyant instead of the field I went into, because so far my gut feelings have been correct. Just as I predicted would happen, because I know Emily's personality like the back of my hand. Francine called me today and I almost did not answer, but I figured it had something to do with Emily, so I decided to pick up. I did not learn anything from the phone call, and I didn't already know was going to happen. Sure enough, Francine is not too happy with her living arrangements as of lately, and she immediately started ranting about how Emily quit her job, does not pay rent, and does not pick up after herself ever. I simply said I know and start laughing my butt off. Francine told me to stop laughing because this is not a funny matter. Well, I said it is to me. I pointed out how I'd warned her this was going to happen, and Francine conveniently ignored that part and started asking for help. I was confused and asked what she meant by this, and turns out Francine is expecting me to help pay for Emily. I could not believe the audacity of this. Francine has watched everything I've said about Emily come to fruition right in front of her eyes, and she's delusional enough to think that I would be willing to foot the bill? I told Francine I was through footing the bill. I've paid Emily's way her entire life. I told Francine she should have considered her own financial situation before accepting an overgrown child into her home. She starts arguing and screaming at me, but all I had left to say was that Emily was her problem now, not mine. I guess after paying Bobby's bail money, Francine must have realized that taking care of Emily was not sustainable. I could have told her that. Update number 5. Hey everyone, I know it's been a while since my last update. This is going to be the final update. There's a lot to share with you, but I'll try to keep it brief. Thank you all for letting me vent through this saga, and thanks to everyone who's given me thoughtful advice and supportive comments, but let's cut to the chase here. I got engaged. That's right. I never thought I'd be able to say those words again, but over the past few months, I've been dating a woman and had fallen for her pretty hard. Truthfully, she's been my first girlfriend since my wife passed away over 20 years ago, but I fell for her, and I knew I had to put a ring on that finger. She's stunning and makes me so darn happy. Since my new fiancé came into my life, I'd been too busy living and having fun to worry about much of the drama of the family and Emily. I had not heard anything from Francine or any of my deceased wife's family members. I'd still been thinking about Emily a lot, but I figured she must not want to talk to me. I figured she was probably still upset about the car, still spreading rumors about me and still working against me. The way I saw it, that was her choice and there was nothing that I could do. But then after spending time with my fiancé's children and the two of us talking about our experiences as parents, she finally convinced me to reach out to Emily again. It's been quite some time, and this is the longest I've ever gone without speaking to my daughter. It was eating me away a bit, I'll be honest with you, but I've been trying to focus on the future instead, but my fiancé was very persuasive. I called Francine and asked to speak to Emily. Francine sounded surprised to hear from me, and she told me about Emily's new phone number. I was shocked. I could not believe Emily bought herself a cell phone. I called the number and could feel myself starting to get nervous. Emily picked up the phone and said, "Dad?" Well, I was so scared to tell her the truth, and I thought that she'd tell me to never speak to her again. But then Emily told me that she split up with Bobby after he got arrested. Emily denied ever sending him to my house, and she also told me she had a surprise gift for me and wanted to arrange a visit. I was hesitant because I did not want Emily to try and badmouth me in front of my fiancé, but I agreed. I met with Emily at my house and she gave me a check for the cost of the car. She told me she could keep it because she had already bought herself a new one. I told her, oh no, she could keep the money. I just wanted her to learn responsibility, and it's clear that she has. Well, we cried right there in each other's arms, and Emily apologized profusely. I forgave her. As I type this out, I'm on a vacation with my fiancé and Emily, and they're getting along great. Well, thanks guys for reading. I'm so glad my daughter decided to become an adult. It was worth all the trouble, and I could not have done it without your support. So thank you.
I'm just happy at the end of the story, OP was able to patch things up with his daughter, but a lot of the commenters were saying how Francine was the main reason why the daughter was acting like this. She was entitled simply because of the way Francine treated her growing up, going behind OP's back and just giving her stuff that she did not deserve. So guys, let me know your opinion on that. Do you think Francine, or anyone for that matter, can make a huge difference in someone's life when they go against the parents' decision and go behind their back? Drop your comments down below. Maybe somebody out there has been through something similar to this. Let's talk about it in the comments section. Thank you for joining me on today's story. I hope you enjoyed it. My name's Mr. Reddito. If you want more daily videos, go ahead and stop by tomorrow, see what story we're doing, hit that subscribe button, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya!